A reading from the Tao Te Ching, chapter 16. Lao Tzu composed the Tao Te Ching sometime before the 4th century, before the Common Era. Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind rest in peace. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches their return. They grow and flourish and then return to the source. Returning to the source is stillness, which is the way of nature. The way of nature is unchanging. Knowing constancy is insight. Not knowing constancy leads to disaster. Knowing constancy, the mind is open. With an open mind, you will be open-hearted. Being open-hearted, you will act nobly. Being noble, you will attain the divine. Being divine, you'll be at one with the Tao. Being at one with the Tao is eternal. And though the body dies, the Tao will never pass away. Let the mind rest in peace is the theme of today's midsummer. You know, we're in the middle of summer, in the height of summer service, with beautiful skies, a full moon last week, thunderstorms yesterday. We've got the whole shebang of summer, don't we? There's been quite a few predictions for seeing the northern lights here in mid-Michigan recently. Sue, who's online, see, I told you I'd talk about those northern lights. Sorry, side note. I tried viewing them several times from my backyard without luck. But I did see the light pollution coming from Brighton and from Howell, and I was surprised that living in rural Genoa Township, I have light pollution. I had a different experience up north at our camper. This was several weeks ago. The night was cool. There were no bugs out. The sky was clear. I was wearing jeans and a hoodie. So I took my recliner lawn chair out to the open field behind the RV park, set up my recliner chair, lie down in the recliner chair where I can look up at the sky, and I saw a field of stars that the mind cannot imagine, surrounded only by a horizon of treetops. And so I said, now I'm going to wait and watch for the northern lights. An hour or so later, I woke up. Sleep had gotten to the best of me. But this was a marvelous experience of stargazing and sleeping under the dome of the sky. It was a let the mind rest in peace moment. Totally unplanned. It just happened. What are ways that we can let the mind rest in peace? The Reverend Marianne McKibben Dana wrote a book a good decade ago called Sabbath in the Suburbs, a family's experiment with holy time. She was back then a young, newly ordained Presbyterian minister, and she and her family undertook an experiment to keep the Sabbath for a year. She's married with a couple of children in grade school. Because she works Sundays, they picked Saturday as their Sabbath day, very Jewish. Their agreement was to spend time together as a family, disconnected from technology. No cell phones, except for essential emergency stuff, no computers, no TVs, no video games, yada, yada, yada. You know the list of no's. Also, they agreed that on the Sabbath day, they would not do chores around the house. That was to be taken care of during the work week. They would have a family meal together where they cooked and prepared all the food and spent time together. They would do family outings together, figuring out where they would want to go, what they would want to do there, be it an amusement park or a walk in something like Kensington Woods or a bike ride or whatever. And they might get together with friends who were on a similar path to celebrate the Sabbath. And they found a number of families who were doing similar experiments like they were. So it was a bit rough at first for them. They had to get used to it. They soon fell into the Sabbath groove. And they realized that they experienced rest by doing this Sabbath thing once a week. And that rest continued, that feeling of rest, that sensation of rest, continued on into the rest of their work week. Their stress levels dropped. And they began to look forward to their day of rest, to their day away. Their experiment proved the ancient wisdom of the Sabbath prophet. They let their minds rest at peace on a weekly basis. Now, some religious traditions have a built-in Sabbath practice. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, of course, come to mind. Mormon Christians are particularly well known for upholding the Sabbath day, Sunday, as a family day. In other traditions, Wiccans celebrate the monthly lunar cycles with full moon rituals called esbats. I think this is where the women dance naked, maybe. Buddhists invite folks to retreat time during the rainy season, which is basically winter time. Devout Hindus set aside the full moon day for special devotional pujas at home, temple rituals, cleansings, meditation, even moon bathing. Have anyone of you gone out to go do a moon bath at some point? This past Thursday's full moon for Hindus was Guru Purnima, the full moon of the Guru, when Hindus celebrate their gurus or spiritual teachers on an annual basis. But by and large, in our Western secular society, the Sabbath day has lost its status as a day of rest. It's another day for soccer games and outings and whatnot. Can we still find ways of letting the mind rest in peace? We have neighbors. They're a senior citizen couple in their 70s. They go golfing at the golf course all the time. But twice a year, they take extended vacations. And once I asked, and I admit stupidly, not thinking ahead of time, why do you take a vacation from retirement? So Peggy said that the change of pace and the getaway from the home environment is just so important for them to be able to disconnect and rest and experience something other than their daily routine. They visit friends and family on a rotating basis during the year in different parts of the country, someplace in Arizona, someplace in Florida, and then they do another vacation where they just go on vacation to a place that they want to go to that they've never been before. Vacation refreshes and rejuvenates them. In this way, they let their minds rest in peace. So Mikey and I were on vacation last week. Last Sunday, we flew out to Colorado in order to drive our recently purchased 1976 GMC Palm Beach motorhome back to mid-Michigan. And along the way, we experienced a series of technical problems and one mechanical breakdown. It was a change of pace for our routine, and it challenged my type A propensity for scheduling. But it was a getaway from the ordinary, and it was an experience. It was an adventure traveling across the high plains of our great country. So what can we do for ourselves? What can we do individually? What can we do in our relationships to let the mind rest in peace? Of course, the traditional spiritual religious practice for seeking a peaceful mind would be meditation. And we have meditators here at CUUB, and we have various different meditation offerings Kristen offers meditation. Amanda offers meditation on a weekly basis. Okay, we're on summer hiatus right now. They'll be returning in the fall. Karen offers a Course in Miracles study group, a spiritual practice group. Intentional retreats are another traditional spiritual practice, both for getting away and for intentionally trying to practice mindfulness, peacefulness. The women's retreat is coming up in the fall, like we've heard. The men had a retreat in the spring. When the men were having their retreat, I and Mikey and I were at the Unitarian Universalist Buddhist Fellowship retreat in Maryland. And the Ann Arbor UUA congregation has reached out to CUUB for a joint women's retreat sometime in the future. Such activities let the mind rest in peace. Many of us have our own spiritual practices. Some of us are still trying to figure out what our spiritual practice might be. The clay studio, making art, making things with your hands, is a popular spiritual and physical and artistic and creative practice here at CUUB. Gardening is another one. A lot of you are involved in tending to Mother Nature, helping things grow. They would grow anyways, but you want the intentional plants to grow, not the unintentional ones. Catch my drift? What's your personal spiritual practice? And do you have time to commit to it this summer? And it doesn't really need to be a spiritual practice that might be off-putting to some people. You can enter into a deep state of relaxation by floating on noodles in the pool. You can sit down in an armchair and watch the sunset go down over the horizon. You can watch birds coming to your bird feeders and feeding on the birds. Or you can sit and listen to the loons in Ontario Provincial Park. What are you doing this summer to let your mind rest in peace? Maybe all it takes is pulling out your reclining lawn chair in the night, lying down and watching the stars overhead.